we gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Cloud.
This is We Watch
This is We Watch Movies, and guess what? We got an email, and we're gonna read it.
Well, before we read it, I know at the end of some of our more recent episodes, I'm like, hey, subscribe, like, all of that jazz, leave a comment, because even though this is a primary podcast, I'm trying to put some of these out on YouTube for those who prefer to watch or listen to anything through that means.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, there's not much to watch. We're not doing video here, so you're not looking at us talk. Like, you do nice artwork and stuff, but
yeah. And so I wanted to say thanks to Richie and Jared, who had left us multiple comments through several videos.
Okay, so that's what that message was. Because you just sent me just a text message that said Richie and Jared, and I was like, well, I don't know what do you mean? And like, we know people named Jared. Also, my brother's name is Jared. Go back and listen to the primer episode, like 120 episodes ago, if you want to hear him talk. But it's not spelled the way that you wrote it in the message. And like, what is this for? And I didn't ask you about it. Like, okay, so that's what it is. It's one of your like, I want to remember stuff text messages.
Yeah. And so, I want to say I appreciate you guys for leaving some comments, some interaction. I feed off that.
Don't feed the trolls, but you can feed us. Yeah,
but speaking of feeding us, we received an email, one of those direct. You went to the website, you went to the contact thing, and it's a message sent straight to us. So unfortunately, we can't reply to you via email. So we're just gonna
because we don't have you. Which you can. I think there's a blank in the form if you want to put like alternate contact information, but like otherwise, if you leave. I mean, if you want to just write directly, you can write letters at wwmpod.com. That's the direct email, and like then we can reply to you directly if you want to. But or if you don't want us to be able to contact you, but you have something to say, you can use the form on the website. We don't know anything except what you put in it. We can't see anything. So,
or if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're not like super hyper active, but we try to give at least a little bit like, hey, this episode's going to come out.
When the episodes come out, sometimes there's supplemental things like the picture of the ticket from Sucker Punch, and usually those things I try to embed in the episode post on the website too. That doesn't like you can't see that in your podcast app or anything normally.
But we are small enough that if you ding us, we'll notice.
Yeah, if you follow us or if you message, we notice. Which like compared to the still small number of people that we think download our episodes, the amount of people who follow us on Twitter is much smaller, like a magnitude smaller than that. So
magnitude, wow.
You can we'll notice you on Twitter for sure. But we'll notice I'll know like almost immediately.
I'm holding it in my hand.
Well, you'll notice the Twitter immediately. I'll notice the email immediately. Like I'll see the ping. Like I keep the email on the front, like on the home page of my phone, so I see when things come in. So I'll see it right away. But you'll see the Twitter right away. And you'll see the comments like fairly immediately.
Yeah, and that means that if you have a suggestion, or if you want us to watch a particular movie so we can have our input on it because you're interested,
you can
just let us know.
I used to do this whole like I probably have it here somewhere. I don't want to play it because I'll just like turn red from embarrassment if I do, but because it's from this like super early days. I recorded this like standard version of the like how to contact this stuff so that I could just like throw it in at the end of the episodes, because it was taking me like 3 hours an episode to edit then, because I was like going through everything and like doing it all by hand and cutting stuff out and syncing music to stuff, and like it's bananas and ridiculous. And I think the show is better for not doing it that way anymore. but like I recorded the standard thing, and in that, one of the things I said was go to the website and use the contact form there. And so with that being the case, and also the suggest stuff to us. But so we got this email through the contact form from I'm going to assume that since he put his first and last name here, that I can say the whole thing, because if he didn't want us to know his last name, he didn't have to put it in there. And maybe he wants to hear his name on a podcast, or on our podcast anyway.
Be recognized.
And so,
for we have witnessed you.
I'll say his whole name. His name is Jousha Bandy. And he says, "Hey guys, I'm a little late to the We Watch Movies party." We having a party over here? Is it like a party?
I mean, I'm drinking.
Yeah. But I gotta say, I'm very much enjoying what I'm hearing. You guys rock! Exclamation point.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Keep up the good work. I'm thinking about getting my own podcast going. Perhaps someday in the distant future we can collaborate. If you have questions about how to do this whole podcast thing, like, please contact us, because I will tell you the right way to do it that like basically doesn't cost you any money, and you don't have to like subscribe to Podbean or like think you need to become part of a podcast network, or like, it really isn't that hard. And like, we do it, like, I don't hand code the RSS feed, but so it's not like literally by hand everything, but like we do it in the small podcast way. Like, we don't use a service, we do everything. We run everything. So
it ain't that hard.
It's not that hard, and I can tell you how, and it doesn't have to cost, like, it costs us like, I think maybe like $50 a year or something to do the show, and that's just mostly the domain costs and like the website hosting, which is really small. And so like, it doesn't have to cost you very much. Like, if we ever like get really big and popular, it'll cost more because we'll have, bandwidth concerns and things. But while we're how we are, and especially starting out, you can do it the way that we'll do it, and I'll tell you how. And like, everything, microphones, equipment, you can do it all for very, very little money and do it very well. Do not buy anything made by the Blue Microphone Company. Just right there. I'll tell you right there. Don't bother.
We're not
expensive.
We're not going to get sponsored by Blue.
We're not going to get sponsored by Blue. I would not take Blue's money. I do not approve of them.
My microphone was like $11.
Yeah. So like, I'm going to do an episode of it. I should just do an episode and lay out a lot of the stuff anyway, because I've thought about doing it. I was going to do it as the like 200.5 episode, but then we have so far, we're like 17 episodes past 200 in like numbered episodes, and there's like 40 something more than that. And so like, I haven't done it because I wanted to anchor it to that. But we haven't done that, but I should just go ahead and do it, I guess. But so like, if you have questions about starting your own podcast, Joshua or anyone else, please reach out for that. And if you do start a podcast, we'll probably collaborate with you if we like you, and we'll probably like you. So reach out for that too. Either way, I'm making your way through all your older episodes. I gotta say, he says day, but I assume he said say. I thoroughly enjoyed the Goofy movie episode. Well, that's one of the episodes that's really important to me, because that movie is really important to me, and you can learn a lot about me from that episode. And it's one of our like pretty early, like, people think this movie isn't worth the time, but here's why it is. Like, it's one of our contrarian opinions on a significant thing episodes. And of course, it's way more important to me than it is to you, but you still like it. So
yeah, it's still a good movie. It's got a lot of depth.
It does have a lot of depth. One day we'll do the Brave Little Toaster, and you'll get to learn about death and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, not in the like metal death kind of way, but like,
damn it,
like people getting dying and stuff, and how do you deal with that kind of way.
I mean, I was just picturing like heavy metal slowly plays a little bit louder in the background.
Not Grim Reapers with flying V guitars and things like that. No, not that kind of death.
If you go listen to our Evil Dead episode from like 2 Halloweens ago, you'll know I really like metal.
Well, there's one from this Halloween ago also. So.
Yeah, but it doesn't have like the demon hand coming out of the person and the cool metal stuff.
Yeah.
Dead.
I like to take every opportunity to play that because I really like it. If I could make a request, it would be cool if you guys did one about the movie In Time with Justin Timberlake. I think it's a very unique movie and would love to hear your thoughts on this. So
guess what?
if you've downloaded this episode, you've seen the title, and we're doing In Time. We were going to get to it eventually because this is also going to check off one from the Fishbowl, for me. So this will get updated on the Favorite 50 page on the website, even though we're not doing the whole like format and everything. And so if we ever end up pulling it out of the Fishbowl, we'll just have to skip over that one because we will have already done it. But since you requested it, it overrides waiting for it to come out of the Fishbowl. He does continue on. Also trying to figure out if you guys have a Patreon page or what, because I haven't heard any ads, which I like.
No, we do not.
We do not. I suppose we could have a Patreon page or like a PayPal donate, not donut. You can donate donuts to us, though. That's okay, too. I don't know how that would work, though. I don't really want to receive donuts in the mail.
That'd be very odd.
Stale.
Well, on that note, we are trying to get our lives together in such a way that we can actually start filming properly. The
bar show will have you can give us money elements to it. This one, this show, like, yes, we don't have ads because I sort of disagree with advertising on podcasts in general in like a substantive way, and I think I've talked about it here and there at various times. I'll talk about it more probably when I come around to doing the like here's how you make a podcast episode, which I guess I should just go ahead and do pretty soon now since I'm. No, I know, like I mean, but like soon. Like soon because we're talking about it. I should just sit down and just do it.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I'm bringing it up. No, I know I said it, but I mean like right, not right now because we're doing a show right now, but soon, very soon. But we probably won't ever make any money off of this unless we make it off of like the YouTube versions or something.
Yeah.
And like I kind of don't want to really because like when you become commercial, then you receive attention, and when you receive attention, then you have like more restriction. And like I've already had to restrict things slightly more than I would have, not in like not that you're not going to swear kind of way or we're not going to say what we mean kind of way, but I liked sometimes to use the actual music from the score of a movie for the like the bumper music and things like that, and sometimes that gets flagged on YouTube, so I can't do that anymore. And so I don't really like that.
We are not large enough to actually fight against any system to prove our innocence. So we are.
But we're also not big enough for anybody to look at us to decide we're guilty. Mostly.
Exactly.
YouTube is so automated that it picks us out, even though we're small. But here, just on the regular podcast feed, like nobody is looking at us because there's lots of bigger, more popular things to worry about infringing on your copyright. So,
So we're looking into making some changes, and we want you to stay posted.
Yeah, when we start doing video stuff, and when we start doing the like other things on the within the sort of like I know I just said like don't join a podcast network. Like we're not starting a podcast network, but like we're going to have various properties that involve the people that you've heard on this show in various formats and covering various subjects, and others of those will have give us your money elements. But
till then,
this one probably will not. But the newest one I've heard so far is the Joker, which is recent enough that if we had ads, you would have heard. And that's pretty recent. So like, I do wonder, he says working through, and also he's heard the Joker. So like, I wonder if he's kind of going from both ends where he's like trying to work his way through. But if he sees like a new one pop up and he's like, I want to know about that, then he listens to that too. Which also, I do wonder about, that sort of brings up a question. How do you listen to new podcasts? Like, when you find a podcast, you just like, here's the new stuff and you're just going to go along, or do you go back to the beginning, or do you do both at the same time? Or like, what do you do?
Well, personally, I'm not super huge into the podcasts directly, but I do consume a lot of YouTube. I've kind of gotten bored of normal television, And so I take most of my entertainment from YouTube in a more direct sense. And shut your mouth. One of the creators, which I'm sure some of our listeners will know, is H3H3 with Ethan and Gila. And they've done their own podcast, which is H3's podcast. The H3 podcast, where they will have various guests. They've had Post Malone. They've had Andrew Yang. It's a little all over the place with who they have on. Sometimes they don't. And some of the episodes I'll kind of get at, like I'll see it, especially when they got started. Joji, who you might know as Filthy Frank / Pink Guy, he happened to be on one of the episodes like towards the start, and that's what really attracted me to watching it. But there was so much in between where I would get tired of listening to him. You know, it's an issue I have with people is like forgetting the things that you've said in a more recent manner. Like, I'm not going to expect myself to remember something I said 5 years ago, but I am going to try to at least keep some consistency between now and last week. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's something that they don't always do. Like, they just forget everything they say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about the, like, what happens to your brain when you do a show. Like, it really does become hard. Like, once you say a thing, it's kind of like writing, where, like, once you write a thing, it kind of happened, and then it's hard to, like, write that scene again. But then, like, when you say something on a show, you're like, well, that was on the show, and then, like, it just kind of, like, you kind of have vague recollections of it, but you don't remember. And then, like, someone will say, like, you said this thing on this episode of the show, and you're like, I guess, probably, like, that seems like something I would say, but I don't remember it particularly most of the time.
But then there was a little bit of time that passed, and I had stopped watching them. And then Belle Delphine, who was doing the gamer girl bathwater, became a thing.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And I think it was like right before something like that. It was some goofy stuff going on. And they did an episode and they talked about that. And because I love memes, I saw that and I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch this one.
This is a couple of years ago, isn't it?
No, this was like last year.
Was it last year?
Something like that. And so like I watched that, and then I watched like a few of their episodes as they went by, but then the same kind of thing happened where I got tired of listening to them and I disappeared. But I still kind of keep up with them from time to time just to see what topics they're going to cover. Outside of that, there'll be creators who will make videos, and sometimes they'll be like, hey, I'm gonna make the Snark Tank podcast with Tom Sweetie, and I love Tom Sweetie. And so it's just like, all right, I'll listen to them. So you got Chris Raygun and you got Some Black Guy. That is literally the tag he goes by, Some Black Guy. And you have Tom Sweetie, and it's just all kinds of goofy stuff. That's all I can really say about that. It's like there'll be creators that I enjoy, and they'll be like, hey, I'm going to make something, and I might check it out, and I might stick around. I might not. But that's about it.
I usually go. It may not be that I'll like stop and wait to be current until I go through all of it. Like there are some, I guess there are certain ones that you have to do that because they're like story based or something. I don't really listen to any of those. I don't listen to Serial or Welcome to Night Vale or something. Although like apparently I should listen to Welcome to Night Vale according to people because like it's supposedly really good and it seems like something I would probably like, but I just haven't. That's not the kind of thing that I think of when I think of podcasts, really. And so like that's not really any of the, and Serial of course is NPR, and I've talked about NPR and their like non-podcastiness before. But usually if I really like a podcast, I want to eventually have heard the whole thing if it's still available. But usually it is kind of like a double end kind of thing, where like I'm going through the old stuff and also listening to the new stuff at the same time. So just keep up the good work. I shall keep listening, and just know that you've made at least one loyal listener right here. Have a great day, and keep on watching, which he capitalizes, which I appreciate.
Yes.
I don't know if we've ever I don't know if we've ever like verbed the title before, so I don't know if there's ever been a circumstance where we needed to decide whether we do that or not. Because we don't actually write very much. even in the episode descriptions. I used to write a lot more in the episode descriptions than I do now. Go back and read the V for Vendetta one. I'm still really proud of it.
It's a lot.
But
It is a lot.
But it's not that much anymore. I did write a written review for Ghost in the Graveyard.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to have something out before, and then we put the whole show out after everybody could have seen it. And I'm thinking about writing written reviews of a couple of other things right now that I think I have enough to say about that I can condense into a written form. And so there's going to be more, it's a tab on the website now. So eventually more stuff will go there. There's only like 2 or 3 things in the visual business one, but it gets added to, and the recipes one, we add things here and there. But so we don't really write that much where we've had to actually like make these like formatting decisions, but like the rest of the format of everything is really particular, and we try to be consistent. And so like I do appreciate the making the decision to capitalize the verb form of watching, because it's in the title.
Well, speaking of that, every so often I'll talk about being on the show, or recording the shows, trying to get the YouTube stuff going, all that kind of business. And people kind of get interested whenever you're talking to them.
Yeah, I've got to go and record the podcast. Do you have a podcast? Like,
yeah. And I'll tell people, look us up. It's the We Watch Movies podcast. Like, it's all like one actual thing. And the horrid thing that I hate about it so much is, as specifically unique as our name is, it is also horribly generic. And so
I know it doesn't have any Google juice at all.
Yeah. And so every time someone looks us up,
it's hard to find.
Like, the thing is
if you type it into iTunes, it comes up. But if you just type it into pick your search engine, it doesn't come up that easily. You have to dig a couple of pages down.
Well, like, I'm just saying, like, because I'll tell people, like, we're on YouTube. It's like
I haven't searched for it.
Like, YouTube, I got stuff on YouTube, and so like you can go, and if you search it, some of the videos will pop up, but the first channel listed is We Watched a Movie, and I'm like, no, we watch movies. We didn't watch one.
It's a different phrasing.
We didn't watch one.
We watch movies.
We watch a lot.
It's ongoing.
We watch movies. We never stopped.
What kind of movies? Movies. And occasionally documentaries.
Now, speaking of that, I think it's like Ghost Ship. I think Ghost Ship is the first one that pulls up because it has like the most views.
Oh yeah, wasn't there like some kind of like it hit like some kind of like Russian translation thing or something? You said
no. It's like some like North Africa, Middle Eastern kind of thing.
Oh.
And that's what I kind of find hilarious, is because we have a huge viewership. But it's all kind of isolated in like Egypt and Iran and Iraq, like just like that Middle Eastern kind of section of the globe, just right there. And so many people leave these horrid comments like, "Oh, stupid," and I'm just like, bruh, like why you tripping? And because like the thumbnail is like when the guy gets his face like cut in half and he's like starting to fall forward. And I know my thumbnails suck, but that's my favorite thumbnail. And so I'm so glad all these people see it, click it, and get angry. I cannot help it.
Click it, get angry.com.
That was easy.
My dad has an easy button. It sits on the table next to the couch, and he like when people make like when like the other team in football does something dumb and lets the team with the ball do something like good, but they didn't have to try that hard, he hits the easy button.
Sports.
The spin-off podcast, We Watch Sports.
No, we don't.
We could watch a sport that we don't know anything about and talk about that. That could be funny, I guess. But like, yeah, we're not going to cover your football games and your soccer games and your baseball.
I will only watch a sport for this form of entertainment if it is a sport filmed or recorded, however you want to put it, in a foreign country where no one is speaking any form. I don't want to see English on the screen at all. And I want to hear
all the graphics are in a language we can't read.
And I want the announcer to be as loud as possible. because I'm going to have a hootenanny with this one. Because Jesus. Like, I'm not watching the sport for the sport. I'm watching it for the announcer.
Uh-huh.
Like, some of them people say some crazy things.
And now, our feature presentation.
Today's movie is In Time. In Time is a 2011 science fiction dystopian action film written and directed by Andrew Niccol, starring Amanda Seyfried, Justin Timberlake, Cillian Murphy, Vincent Kartheiser, I'm sure is not how you say it, Kartheiser? That looks more right. Olivia Wilde, Matt Bomer, Johnny Galecki, Colin Spinney, and Alex Pettyfer. Note plot synopsis.
Justin works in some kind of factory making time capsules. Pun.
Irony.
Yeah. His mom dies. He meets a dude. He meets a dude. Dude kills himself, giving him all of his money. His mom dies because she runs out of money. Literally. He travels to the nice neighborhood. Cops take away all of his money. He kidnaps rich neighborhood hot girl. They rob banks. So steal money, whatever. Then they actually live because they're going to crash the time comedy.
Yeah.
God, this movie is so full of metaphors, and I'm just like,
But no, it is. But it's very important that I said at the beginning that it's a science fiction film, because like that's what sci-fi does. Is it's like, hey, we'll just twist this just a little bit, so maybe you'll think about it.
where's the government or actual police?
Well, the timekeepers are the police.
No, they're not. They're the
They keep
timekeepers.
time.
Yeah.
That seems to be the most important thing, is keeping the poor down. And so that's what you have to do. You have to keep the poor down. You have to make sure that nobody crosses time zones, so nobody gets too much money, time, and that the things stay how they are.
I like this movie.
I'm
going to say a lot of really mean things.
Are you?
I like this movie.
You said
I just want to keep that in mind
You want us to remember?
as I start bashing on this thing, because I had a lot of fun watching this thing. As stupid as some stuff is, and as irritating as I find the whole concept,
I like the concept, so we're gonna fight.
Fight. Okay, so
We watch sports.
I understand that time is money, which is literally
I know.
the whole thing behind this is time is money. And
Well, see, the thing is that it literally is in real life, though. You know, when people say, I don't have time to, go fishing or take a vacation, what they really mean is, I don't have enough money that I cannot work for this period of time that this is going to take. And also, I haven't worked for enough time to have the money to do the thing absent of the time even. So, like, it really is, it's like time is money. So This is like literally, like, it's not literally time is money, like in real life, but in the movie it's like, no, literally like literally
not white girl literally.
No,
like
for real,
actual definition or form of literally.
It's on your arm and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so that's
genetic engineering.
Okay, so that's my first line of BS. It's like,
well, I mean, there is.
It's like, how is this? You're gonna tell me it's evolution? I gotta. It's not even a real clock.
It's not evolution.
It's not gonna tell me the time. Who agreed to this?
Well, okay, so I have a little bit of self-defending to do, because we've never done Divergent on the show, but
I would really not want to.
When I saw Divergent, I had these thoughts. I thought, like, how did this happen? Who agreed to this? Like, how did we get to the point where? But then also, like, apparently we agreed to The Purge. And although I think it probably is a lot easier to get people to agree to The Purge because people think The Purge would be cool. Like, people watch The Purge movies and they think, oh yeah, that would be cool. Why don't we have The Purge? I've got a few people I'd like to rub out. But it's not. It wouldn't really be cool if it was real. But like, this is like I don't think anybody agreed to this.
No.
I think that
Because if you-
I think it was discovered by science, and then like a few rich people were like, we can keep the poor people even down even more than we can right now, because there's no reason for the clock really, because the time thing is arbitrary, because you can put as much time as you want on it, and it doesn't seem like you couldn't just like, where does it come from?
Where does it
like
go?
a time mint? Gardner, Joe, etc. But there's like, but you could just give everybody as much time. I mean, Matt Bomer's speech is really important because it's like, if everybody lived forever, where would we put them? I like that scene a lot.
Well,
That's
like,
true.
Yeah, it is a good scene. But
why
like,
would you have kids? Like, if everybody lives forever, just like if you're genetic engineering people not aging and also having this clock thing on their arms, you can just knock out the whole being able to have kids thing too, and then it's problem solved.
Well, okay, so the first part is one, in real life, if you have no money, you are 100% broke. You will not just immediately die
Not
on
immediately.
the spot.
You'll die sooner than if you had money, probably, but not immediately for sure.
Like you're never having to look at your wallet or your bank account and realize, oh my, if that hits zero, I'm just going to immediately kill over on the bus. Like, no, that's not how it works.
Running because you couldn't afford the bus because it costs more to take the bus than it takes to run.
Yeah. Second of all, the whole idea of having kids, because of it's like that is one of the things I do like about fantasy, because I normally pick fantasy over sci-fi.
Yeah, this is our dichotomy.
Yeah, and so when it comes to fantasy, and anytime you have elves are always a big staple, but they're known to live an extremely long time.
Uh-huh.
But on top of that, they also do not procreate at the same rate that humans do. And that's essentially what you've created here is like, hey, if people can live a really long time simply because they have money, wink, wink, then chances are they're not going to endlessly procreate.
Well, that's the weird, like, you can understand the, like, you know, another baby was born in the ghetto and his mama cried, you know, kind of Elvis style, sort of like, you can understand the poor people version where it's like, sure, we're poor, but it's still, you know, condoms cost time, you know, so like you're probably going to have a kid. But like rich people, I guess rich people, it doesn't matter because you can just have a kid and you don't have to worry about paying for them or whatever.
And then at that point, what would it matter?
But what would it matter?
Because the poor people are already put down and they're already dying in the streets anyways. So you're not having to worry about them living forever because they don't have the time to live forever.
No.
So
they don't,
simply
like really weird statement.
The rule of the universe destroys it
forever.
Yeah,
I don't have time. I like it as an idea because it is absolutely so close to, like, it is just the like tiniest twist of the, like, you know, if things were different, things would be different. That would be bad. Therefore, God exists. Like, kind of argument. Like, if things were different, things would just ever so slightly be different. And it's different than the, like, in Looper, things are different, where like suddenly we've invented time travel and also there's telekinetic people, where it's two things we have to accept. Like, there's one thing. We solved aging, but you live one more year and you have to get more time. And if you have more time, you can live forever. And there's this clock on your arm. And then there are all these things that come out of that have societal differences about them. Like small things like that your left sleeve has like a button or a zipper like halfway up your forearm so that you can easily open it to look at how much time you have. Although probably just poor people clothes, because like if you're in New Greenwich, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to look because you've got plenty of time. Yeah. Although I guess, you know, you can roll up your tuxedo sleeve or whatever if you're gonna play poker. But you don't have to have it built in where you can do that at the ready all the time, the way that the poor people do. But even just things like why would you have kids, or we see the whole side of the building that the bar is in is this advertising mural where it's this like made up beer and it's like a 6-pack only. I think what does it say? Like 1 hour or something. I remember seeing like a business sign. It was a 99-second store. Yeah, I like that too. I mean, those are just like small things, but like the beer thing is like, so it cost you an hour to buy. But then assuming that it's actually beer, then like it's going to take you time to drink it. And then afterwards, it's going to take you time to get over having drank it. And so now you're going to have less time and probably not make any more time. And so it's like, I guess, a mechanism for keeping the pour down, and like not in a way that it's not, because there's, this sort of image in politics of the, the guy that, he works all day and then he comes home and just wants to drink a beer and not be that concerned about what's going on in politics, and then just, vote for like whichever party that, like, the John Prine song, Grandpa was a carpenter, and he voted for Eisenhower because Lincoln won the war. It goes back generations. And so that kind of just, drink a beer and not worry that much about what's going on is just an ordinary thing in real life. But, if it's like actually time, but also that means beer is really expensive, because like coffee is like 3 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And then like a 6-pack of beer is an hour. So like that's a big, right now, a cup, you go to Starbucks, a cup of coffee is like $4 or something, and a 6-pack of like ordinary beer might be like, $5, $6, $7. So it's not that much of a difference, but it's a lot bigger difference. But it seems like maybe that's because you can take it home. So because they're going to the bar, like the guy, his friend is going to the bar, and he's getting drinks bought by the rich guy because the rich guy's buying drinks for everybody. But he went to the bar not knowing the rich guy was there, and so did Will, not thinking that he was going to, spend several hours. I mean, you're spending several hours at the bar, I guess. So there's this like double meaning to everything everybody says.
And I would say like the idea of the world creation, I think, is wonderful. But whenever
it does seem like they stopped manufacturing cars in around 1970 or so.
Yeah.
Though, and just
then
put
started
turbine engines in them or something, because they have this interesting sound to them when they
and
run.
then really bad LEDs in the front. Like,
LEDs
no,
are the
like,
future.
We need to make it look like it's from a different time. Like,
Everything is LED in the future.
Like, bro.
And mostly chrome, actually. Most of the cars are silver, so they are on board with the chrome as the future thing.
But
there are weird things like that. He says it's going to crash the market. So, like, what is the time market exactly?
Yeah.
How does that work, the time market? Because it seems a little less ambiguous than something like the stock market is, where there's like multiple products. Where, like, I guess there are like multiple products and they all just cost time instead of money. But, like, the entire market crashes typically when there's like more debt in the economy than there is money, or like not more, but like a slightly like an uneven proportion in a way that scares people. And, that's what happened in 29. That's sort of what happened in 87. That's for sure what happened in 2008. And so like it doesn't make that much sense to like, if other people have money, it's not like there's less money suddenly, or like the money just disappears from the economy or some. It's just like if different people have more money, time, it's going to screw up everything. Which I understand it could screw up their lifestyle or something, but it's not going to like crash the time economy, because it's just like more money in the economy, in like the current economy, is good, because that means people can buy things.
Yeah.
And so then that keeps the money circulating.
Well,
when people don't have money to buy things, that's when people get into debt, and that eventually leads to a crash over time.
Well, see, like that's kind of the thing behind this, is like they're not robbing from like a company. They're robbing from the bank, like the bank, not just banks
in
in general.
End, they're robbing from the bank. It seems like.
Well, I'm
really
just talking about like the bank is the Weeze bank.
It's
like regardless of what physical location, it belongs to like the that one company that owned, like by the dude who had like 1 million years or whatever.
His first million.
And so like that's the thing, is you're going from the bank, you're taking the bank's money, you're not taking business away from businesses that need to make the money.
Yeah.
And so what's going to end up happening is like, okay, you take 1 million years and you spread it across all these people. And I'm just going to take this isolation event, not at the end of the movie where they're doing it all over the place, but just the isolation event. When you have that, and you have all these people who have all this money that they've never had before. It's going to be kind of like how people are with the lottery. Like they'll win the lottery, they'll get all this money, and then they don't know how to manage money, so they end up spending everything.
They've never had that much before. Well, it seems, I mean, that's what happened. Although his friend has like zero self-control because he gets into a little bit of money. Like he goes to the bar, seemingly in a commonplace way, probably.
He gets 10 years.
He gets 10 years of money, which is a lot, I suppose. But
and drinks himself to death.
Literally to death.
Like
he
alcohol
drinks
poisoning
until death. Like we don't have that much money. But, we could drink ourselves to death right now. Like we could go into the other room and like take 100th of what's in there and drink ourselves to death on the air in not that long. Yeah. So it doesn't cost that much to drink yourself to death, really. And he just like, I can't, I have to solve this money. I'm going to just drink myself to death. Yeah. Like that's what happened. And so like, and then the wife is like, you did this, you gave him money. And I don't agree with that. It's not his fault. He didn't make him drink himself to death.
Well, even on that, like, kid. Like, lady, if you're the responsible one, why not take some of it from the husband so you can be covering some of the things that you were trying to do anyways?
Yeah.
Because obviously you married the guy, you should know him. You should know that he's kind of stupid. Kind of stupid. Just take like a couple of years because you are already saying you are in debt. Take what you need. I do like the little time capsules because like living in the ghetto, you don't want to have too much on you at one time in case you get mugged.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they really use them though. It seems like a way to transfer it around because it is a real thing and it's not a real thing. Like I guess in the way that money is like a real thing. Like there's like a tenth as much physical money in the U.S. economy as there is money in the economy. Like most of it is like we made it up on paper kind of thing, and nobody is like you can't withdraw all the money in the economy.
Yeah.
So like that's a regular thing that is just kind of made up. But so it's made up. I have questions about like hacking. Like I wonder, like has nobody figured out how to like hack this, or, like make up time or or anything? It's which I guess they'd be slapped down by the timekeepers or whatever maybe. But
I mean, timekeepers aren't bulletproof.
Clearly not because he gets shot. She should not. She's not.
No,
not good with guns.
No, but that's okay.
It's okay. She's never had to have a gun before. It's fine.
But she's gonna get better, with them robbing time banks.
Yeah, well, she does get better. I mean, there is that we haven't done it yet. We should have by now. But episode 200 is supposed to be Bonnie and Clyde for reasons you'll understand when we eventually do it. But we haven't gotten to do it yet. But there is like a Bonnie and Clyde element happening here, where there's the like. He's kind of crime, she's kind of not. They kind of go into crime together, and even the like teaching her to shoot scene is very Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna agree like 100% with this, like this Bonnie and Clyde kind of structure, but the overall drive behind them is like the complete opposite. Because Bonnie and Clyde were like stealing money to steal money.
Yeah.
While Justin and Amanda are like trying to save
kind of justice
people.
thing happening. Yeah.
Because like
they're a little more Robin Hood than Bonnie and Clyde are.
Yeah. And so it's like whenever we see like the timekeepers, you're supposed to think, oh, the timekeepers are the police. But whenever you run into them and they give the dialogue.
Only police we see.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so they're not actually police as much as they are. We just manage time. Like people who have time that shouldn't have time, we take it away from them. And so I'm like, okay, well, I can understand this is supposed to be a replacement for the police, but at the same time, like, there are crimes that should still technically be considered crimes. Who's in charge of, righting this wrong? Because it's obviously not the time police. And so when you have that element to it, that's the only reason they're going after Justin and Amanda is because they're literally stealing time. If they weren't stealing time, then the time police wouldn't even be there. So what police would be? And like it's even like he's part crime and she's part not. Like he's not real crime at all. He's like the absolute opposite.
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm literally giving away my money to help people compared to taking away people's money for my own greedy actions. And it's just like,
Yeah, it's really the rich people that are bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, he's from like real life and she's not.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I do like that scene where she kind of gets that taste of what it's like to have
I'll show you what
nothing.
it's like. Yeah, just barely enough.
And like
enough.
she goes to like, and I like this is one of those things where I'm like, I like the acting. Like the only acting I didn't like is when Justin had to cry over his mom being dead. That is the only thing I did not
the crying
like.
is weak. Now, I want to talk about that scene because that scene is an impossible scene to write. Because whatever you do, people are going to not be totally okay with. Because the like having her die like just before they get there is really kind of, you know, a course because it's a movie.
Yeah.
Of course she did. But it's not really, you know, just of course, because if you haven't seen that happen in a movie before, then it should still be fine. And also it's necessary because then when they don't do it at the end with her, and they use the same piece of music, which they use one other time besides those two times, when there's a like there's like it's the especially drama is happening here kind of thing, because it's that like it's almost hopeful and but it's also sad, and it's the piece when Matt Bomer is sitting on the bridge about to like fall off and he's running towards him is not the same, but it's similar enough that it has the same feeling and it's consistent within the music. But like the things about that, I mean, I know like he thought she was going to get there, but the only thing he had to do was not wait for her on the bus. He's like, I've got all this money, I'm going to go pick her up.
Yeah.
And then she wouldn't have died, which is not, you know, it's necessary to the story that what happens. And I don't have that much of a problem with it.
Especially because he's got like a sentry on him. He could have met her at work.
Yeah, he could have met her at work. That's what I mean. Is that it's not necessary that she has to die. You know, but he didn't know. He didn't know that the price of the bus went up and that she was gonna. She said, "I'm gonna be pretty close," like, but that happens to them every day. So it wasn't a special. It wasn't a special day. So it isn't. Clark decides not to save Pa Kent from the tornado. Like it's not as active. Like you could have done something and you didn't. But.
Yeah, okay, I'll side with you on that one. But like they foreshadowed it so hard. It disgusts me.
They did
like I saw
it a lot, but it's to build tension.
If you're not paying attention, here, let me give you 30 minutes for lunch. Look down. I could have really used that 30 minutes.
I know, yeah, that's the thing too.
Like I remember seeing this in theaters and being sick, just being like, wow, you're going to be that obvious? I mean, like, there's foreshadowing and then there's just flat out telling us, oh yeah, she's going to die because of her kind gesture and her son couldn't meet her or do anything other than...
How much does lunch cost?
I don't know.
Coffee costs 3 minutes. Lunch costs 30 minutes.
Coffee costs 4 minutes now.
4 minutes, yeah.
It went up this morning.
It went up.
Because inflation, to keep the poor down. For some reason.
Well, okay, so while we're here, I have this that I want to play. This is 2 minutes, and not all of it is the point, but most of it is the point, and so I'm not sure when exactly the point parts happen. And all of it is equally disgusting and you should hear. But this is Michael Bloomberg talking to Christina Lagarde, who is the former head of the International Monetary Fund. And just listen to them and think about what's going on in this movie. And when this came out in 2011, which is, almost 10 years ago now, then think about this and how close, how this could happen if we just discovered the science of it.
Taxes are regressive, but in this case, yes, they are. That's the good thing about them, because the problem is in people that don't have a lot of money. And so higher taxes should have a bigger impact on their behavior and how they deal with themselves. So I listen to people saying, oh, we don't want to tax the poor. Well, we want the poor to live longer so that they can get an education and enjoy life. And that's why you do want to do exactly what a lot of people say you don't want to do. The question is, do you want to pander to those people, or do you want to get them to live longer? And there's just no question. If you raise taxes on full sugary drinks, for example, they will drink less. And there's just no question that full sugar drinks are one of the major contributors to obesity, and obesity is one of the major contributors to heart disease and cancer and a variety of other things. So it's like saying, I don't want to stop using coal because coal miners will go out of work. Well, will lose their jobs. We have a lot of soldiers in the United States, in the U.S. Army, but we don't want to go start a war just to give them something to do. And that's exactly what you're saying when you say, well, let's keep coal killing people because we don't want coal miners to lose their jobs. The truth of the matter is there aren't very many coal miners left anyways, and we can find other things for them to do. But the comparison is a life or a job, or taxes or life. Which do you want to do? Take your poison.
So it's regressive, it is good. There are lots of tax experts in the room and fiscal experts, and I'm very pleased that they hear you say that. And they all say the two things in life which are absolutely certain. One is death, the other one is tax. So you use one to defer the other one.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is exactly right.
It.
Well said.
Yeah.
You said it.
No, you said it.
Just because you quote Benjamin Franklin on some stuff, I don't care.
No,
I don't care if someone else says it. I that. That's Big Ben.
Well, and of course,
the man said this.
Bloomberg has to get in his jab at soda, because remember, he was mayor of New York, and he was like, you can't have cups of soda this big because soda is evil. He has a real vendetta against soda. It's really weird.
I'll drink a 2-liter right in front of him. I'm not a fan of Bloomberg.
No, I'm
no
not
politics.
Either.
I just don't like him as a person.
But what he says is, you have to you want to tax the poor, because if you don't, then they might do something that will make them live less time. And what you have in the rich people here is that they have all this time and they can basically live forever, but they don't do anything, because if they do something, then they might get hurt or they might get killed, and then they would die. And then all this time that they have would be a waste. And then with the poor people, they're poor, but and they can't live forever all at once, but they're working for a day at a time, which is what people are commonly doing anyway. People work paycheck to paycheck, and we do. So we're not sitting over here on our high and mighty podcast with all our money and our 1/100th of our liquor supply can drink ourselves to death. That's not what's happening. But they're poor, but they can live a day at a time for probably a long time if they just keep working hard enough. It seems it's very similar. And also, we know that there still is taxes, which seems absolutely diabolically evil.
Yeah.
Because Matt Bomer says, why do you think that the prices go up and the taxes go up? Because we have to, keep people dying, because where would we put them? And so it's not death and taxes. It's one thing. It's we could literally tax you to death, because you could owe more taxes than the amount of lifetime that you actually have.
And I myself, how can I put this? We know there's guns in this world.
There are guns. They don't seem to be that hard to come by.
They don't. I would be gunning down every timekeeper I see. Like I'm in this building's window and I know they're going to show up in this area, and I'm going to kill every one of them. Because if there's no one to enforce taking time from people, then I don't have to pay those taxes, because life here already sucks. So I don't have to owe anybody anything. And since there's no cops to investigate the crimes, and all of the timekeepers are being killed when they show up to an area, they're not going to keep showing up to an area. So who's going to stop me? No one, because there's no actual law.
Well,
based off of what we've seen in the movie, that's just what I'm going
There's
off.
always more timekeepers. Like, they got to hire more people.
At the end of the movie, they just kind of go home.
They do go home because it's sort of an insurmountable task. But they and also the one guy. It's all the young guys. They don't know. They haven't been. When you've been keeping time 50 years, tell me what you think. He said, and so like they don't know. He's been. This is like a big stake for him. He spent his not his whole life, I guess, like literally his whole life now, but a big portion of his life, which it's weird. Those kinds of things are weird. I guess they get killed because he's been doing this 50 years. That guy's been doing it like 3 years. So like people do either like go on to do something else, or they time out, or they get shot, or something's happening because you don't just have like a bunch of like, these guys have been doing it forever, so they know everything about keeping time. You have just a few old timers. Because, like, I guess theoretically you could retire, maybe, but he doesn't seem to have any interest or ability to retire. They make quips about, it's a crime how much we pay our timekeepers, which is the same thing as like how much we pay police and firefighters and the army and whatever. And so like but he has more time than he carries because he doesn't carry it because people will steal it.
Well, he does say that they don't carry much on them to deter people trying to steal it from them. Yeah,
but presumably he has a bank account or something. Yeah, right. Well, so he makes a little more.
He mentions, send me a transfer. Send me a transfer because he does have the thing in the car, and like my mind's still going into that. Okay, well, these police are the bad guys.
He doesn't have to give his badge number or anything.
Yeah, like just go into the car and then just
says like I need. He doesn't even use the phrase, which bothered me a little bit because if you watch Star Trek 3, that Kirk gets beamed up to the Klingon ship because he says in Klingon, "Beam me up." Basically, he makes it kind of sound like it could still be Christopher Lloyd doing it. But here, now of course, Will doesn't know what he says because he's never in the car with him when he does it. So he couldn't know.
Yeah.
But he says, wire me my per diem, which seems like he's getting paid. Like, this is how much you get per diem means basically per day. Like, this is how much you get paid per day. You get per diems in lots of kinds of jobs. But so you don't have to necessarily think that it's coming out of his bank account where he's just like, give me some of what I have built up. He's getting what he's allotted for the day. But Will just says, give me time.
Yeah. And then
I need time. He says, I need time. Bloop, bloop. And they give him some of it's seemingly an arbitrary amount. I don't think we really see what it is. But they don't check. Yeah. It's just like anybody puts their arm in the thing in the car and they get some time.
Yeah. And and that's kind of my problem is using the time as an actual currency and then having it where there's like no real repercussion behind using it. Because if you wanted that coffee and you're going to spend the 3 minutes on the coffee, well, you chose to use that coffee, but then where does it all go? Because it's not real. No, I'm saying it's not real.
Well, neither is money, but
yeah. Well, like at least money is tied to something that someone attached value to.
Well,
and then it's just like, oh well, I value time. Like time's a construct.
Time is a flat circle.
God, you can have a circle that's flat. It's 2-dimensional. Sphere is 3-dimensional.
That's true.
Geometry. Or some shit.
Science has proven that this is so.
Yeah, there we go. That's good stuff. But then he just sticks his arm in the car and he bloop bloop and he gets some money. And I'm like, what's to stop you from doing it again after you give? It's like, oh,
I think they would be suspicious.
It doesn't even matter if they're suspicious
in dispatch.
It's just like, hey, well, like let me
I guess some guy I was investigating. They grabbed me. They took my time. I need some more.
Yeah, and it's just like at that point, it's like what if you were to like blow the legs off of a guy and he's not dead, and you just walk up and you just like steal everything that he's got? Because essentially that's what our villains do before Justin
they basically
headshots
do.
3 of them perfectly, which was a beautiful scene, but I don't believe it.
With a really
And then
small
just-
gun too.
Yeah,
like a
and then
boot gun.
just drains this man of his life force.
Well, that's actually the thing. Like, I don't have a problem with the like mom dies scene. I don't have a problem with most of the mechanics of the world, except for the fighting thing, because it's basically arm wrestling of like
But
a future
it's not even
kind.
good arm wrestling.
Well, it's not good arm wrestling, but like I don't understand how like how it works is as bogus as Stallone turns his hat around and becomes a machine like this truck. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Where it's like they're looking at it and then you can kind of take it, but it's like, but they have all this time now. So like,
Yeah.
if you were both down to like a couple of seconds and then suddenly you just like turn it and they don't notice, that would make sense. But if you have to drain like, 15 minutes out of them or something, it doesn't make any sense how they just, you turn and they can't get it back if you're not the strongest one.
Well, I think that's the problem. Is there seems to be a lack of explanation behind how time is transferred between people, because I would assume whoever is on top would feed whoever is on bottom.
That's what it looks like when they do it.
But then at the same time, like, what if you were on bottom, but you were physically stronger and you could like literally grab their arm and crush their arm because they have the arm of a small child?
Well, there does seem to be a kind of like conscious thing about it also, where it seems like I'm going to give you this much time.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of do it. And it's like when you pay for a certain amount of gas and then it just like it starts to count sort of slow as it gets really close so that it doesn't go over.
Yeah.
But then sometimes, like when they're fighting, it's like you just put the pump in and you just let it go, and it's going to go until the like sensor at the end tells it like it's coming up the pipe now, stop putting gas in.
Yeah. Well,
so,
see, even on that, there's like the speed of which time is transferred is ridiculous.
It's up and down. It depends. So that's what I mean. It seems like there's some control over it.
Like they're talking about having like decades, and they're going to do this thing, so it's a huge amount of time. Because remember, the bad guy took like a lot from the girl to begin with. So we know that he's already got like a massive amount on him. And then those two who have been captured, they already have a decent amount, nothing extraordinary, but enough that they don't have to worry about immediately dying in their sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're playing with this. And so we know that the scale isn't even to start with. And like the flow is kind of slow to kind of build up that suspense, but then it's just like I'm gonna flip you over and take everything in less time than it took to get to this point.
Yeah,
like that's what's crazy.
Well, I guess maybe because he doesn't say he didn't have the strongest arm when he's talking about his dad. That's sort of the way you kind of take it if you're just thinking in arm wrestling metaphors, because there is kind of an arm wrestling thing happening. But maybe it's not that. Maybe it's not like just how strong your arm is. Maybe there is like the strength of will kind of thing happening also. And so there's like a mind game going on. And so it's like, my mind is strong and I'm going to like take your time. And so like he can take the time faster or slower. But it is the fighting thing is the thing that's the most vague.
Yeah. I would side with that whole like mental kind of like suction power.
It's at least it's got to be at least partially that. It does also seem like there is an up or down thing to it, because nobody ever takes time with their arm on top.
Yeah.
So or with their arm on bottom.
Remember,
arm on
when
bottom,
they receive, it's wrist up.
Yeah.
When they're giving, it's wrist down.
So nobody ever does it the other way.
Yeah.
So it's not like I can just do it with my mind.
Yeah.
But it's got to be at least part of it, because there is some kind of control thing happening.
I'm just saying, like, look down at one of them timekeepers, and their legs gone, and they're panicking, and you grab them and you stare them, and like no, and you just take them for all they're worth, which is like a couple hours.
I do like that you can't take it if you kill someone first.
Yeah.
He like shoots the guy that's got like 10 years on him, and he runs over and it's already gray and he's like so angry.
Yeah. Well, it's like, what was it did he say for 30 months or did he say for 30 days right after he shoots the guy in the back?
Oh, I don't remember.
It's something like that. It was a 30. But it kind of makes me wonder,
30 for 30. We watch sports.
If you like if I was to die, I still have money in my bank. It still exists. And I think that's something else that kind of irritates me. Is
well, you can do that though. You can put money in the bank.
Yeah.
Like that guy could die and his million years is still in the vault.
Yeah.
It's not on him physically.
Yeah, but like, okay, so I have a wallet. I have money in my wallet. I have a bank account. I have money
their
in my
wallet
bank
is their
account.
body. So
and it's just like if I was to die, the things that I own could still be taken.
I think he took that guy's wallet. Like you can't do that. You have to chop the arm off, and then what happens if you chop the arm off?
That's what I was thinking, because maybe I got to start chopping arms off.
I don't think you can take it if you chop the arm off.
I'm just saying, like,
it gets great. But now what happens to you?
Yeah, I'm trying to reclaim.
It now doesn't
the time
have an
stolen.
arm. Well, no, I don't think it says. How does it work? They could probably put it back on.
Magnets.
Or they could probably give you a new arm or something. Now, so I think probably like the last major thing. 'Cause I don't want to just complain about
how
this
how would you know if you were going to die if your arm that had the time was cut off?
That's what I mean. How does it work?
Yeah, like, all right, because that's I'm like, all right, yeah.
It probably doesn't actually matter because it probably is like it's in your DNA kind of thing, and so like that's
dumb.
just how you monitor it.
Like, what if you?
It would probably still be
time
the same
travel
amount of time.
like into the future, and they're all like that. And you don't have one. Like, what are they going to do with you? Oh, time traveler. Take this brick and use it to scan stuff to pay for things with time. Well, alrighty then.
I guess. But like in the beginning, he says this all happened a lot. Like he explains what happened, sort of. Like his genetics, we stop aging at 25. The problem is you live one more year. I don't have time to like think about how it worry about how it happened. So like, is that like, it feels like the No Reason in Rubber to me, but I don't know if it's as good.
It's not.
Because like the No Reason in Rubber is amazing. It's like it's just like a blank check to do whatever you want now.
It literally looks at you as the audience has said, shut up.
It's so
shut up and
perfect.
quit asking questions and shut up and watch the movie. And this one is just like, listen, I'm an idiot and I don't care.
It's
and I'm
a little
like,
like
bruh. Like, you cannot tell me that you can't just be like that and then expect me, like, no, at least this person said to stop asking questions. They addressed me. You just
I think
go back to your dick in a box.
I think the thing is that in Rubber, it's absolute. Like, there's no reason. It's not like someone else knows the reason, but I don't, and I don't have time to find it. It's just, which is what he says. It's just like, there is a reason. There is history. You could find out. You could go to the library or something. I just don't have time. And so it's just like, it's not, no one knows. It's just, I don't know. But I happen to be the main character in this story. And so I think the not absoluteness of it is the thing that does the damage, maybe.
Agreed.
Because I would be kind of interested to know. Although maybe not, because supposedly there's like a prequel novel coming out for the Hunger Games or something, and I don't have any interest in that.
Just go watch Battle Royale and
no. Sure, that
watch a good movie.
The fighting part of it, sure, but like, how did society get here? You know, the problem with the Hunger Games movies for me is the microphone, because the like president lady or whoever it is has this microphone, and it's supposed to be all like future-y and alternate looking, and no one knows what it is, and so it's part of this like alternate universe thing that's happening. But I know it's a Heil the Finn TM. And so, like, I saw it, and I was like, that's a Heil the Finn TM. And so it's not this weird alternate future microphone that doesn't exist. I know what that is, and it totally took me out of the universe. Like, not right away, because it doesn't happen at the very beginning of the movie. But
could you at least decorate the microphone so I can't tell what it is?
It's just a stock. And now, I was at the same time very appreciative that the Heil that the Heil Sound Company was getting like a contract for a big movie, but it also doesn't help because nobody recognizes it as that.
Except sound guys. And so then it's not out. I'm sure if you watch the credits, but nobody watches the credits except movie people or people who think there's something at the end. And people don't even do that because they just look it up on the internet now. But it just, it doesn't help you sell a Heil the Finn TM probably because no one knows, except maybe it does because people are like Hunger Games microphone into their search engine, and then maybe they find the Heil TM and realize that it's $300, and then they still don't buy one. Probably doesn't work. All right, so some positive things about the movie.
Yes.
Because like I said, I like this movie.
We've said positive things. I like positive things.
Like I said, like I like this movie, and I was gonna say some really bad things.
Okay, say some nice things. Then.
Okay, so like I started, the crying scene is the only scene of acting I didn't like. Everything else, like including some of the bullshit dialogue, I enjoyed. I'm like, this is pretty good writing. Like,
it does remind me of something else I need to talk about.
Like, I'm on top. I can stand on top of this. Like, they didn't say anything that was so unnaturally stupid that I'm like, what? Like, if it was in universe, it was in universe, and so I have no complaints on any dialogue.
Yeah, it's very consistent. It's very universe creating and good.
Yeah, like the way that the rich people. Okay, so whenever you're developing this world, and I'm gonna move away from the world creation part of it to the actual, like, we're filming a set part of it. Between this is a ghetto and this is Greenwich, like the transformation between how you see these shots was great. I loved it. All the way from how the camera is going to look at Amanda when she's getting out of the car compared to whenever the camera's looking at Justin as he's like trying to adapt to I don't have to be in a hurry.
Yeah.
All the way to going into the ocean, which confuses me why. Oh, you don't go into
well, that's what he says. Like, you have this in your backyard and you never go in. So, like, are there sharks? Are there stingrays? Like, what is there to worry about?
Yeah,
but it seems like it's all the dad's fault because we have the wife say at the end, like, you smother her, you smother us all. So, like, he's being really overprotective. Like
how the story structure goes, like the fact that he doesn't pay the 1,000 years, which would have been like a drop in the bucket. But it's just like, okay, I'm going to just do this in good faith. It's not like 1,000 years in that market is not going to affect the economy more than maybe 2 or 3 days.
No, not really. And they say that. She's like, it's 1,000 years.
It's just
nothing.
It's going to be easy. He could have done it from his pocket. And then like that would have affected the entire movie. But the fact that they don't do it.
There was more than that in the poker game.
Yeah. It's just like, bam, there you go. I'd say I don't like that he couldn't get any of his time back that the cops took from him. Like he's like, there wasn't even like a small little time capsule or whatever they're called. Like not even like one of those just sitting around where he could be like, I need this for my survival. So I am stealing it to kind of get this ball rolling. I would have loved to have seen that, but it wasn't there.
The poker money is like at least sort of legitimately his. Like he did win that. Like, sure, he was in New Greenwich in order to win it because of this money that wasn't his, which also he had a legitimate entitlement to because it was given to him and he didn't actually steal it.
Yeah.
But so all of it is really legitimately his, but we can't have the poor people moving up.
Well, see, it's not about the poor people moving up. It's about
poor people.
Like, they can't prove or disprove that he was given the money.
Yeah, and he keeps time.
But because he was in possession of it, he could go to New Greenwich, which was legal. And even if it wasn't his money, the money he won still belongs to him because he didn't lose anything. So what he did win is completely his, regardless of how he obtained it, because it was given to him as winnings from the game.
I guess you could say it's like, you know, if we're dealing in like evidence terms, it's like fruit of the poison tree, kind of like where he wouldn't have had any money to bet in order to win money if he didn't have the money that we can't prove is legitimately his. So it's all not his, which I guess is what they're doing. But it's all very not fair.
But then it didn't even matter because, oh, well, you're poor, so we're going to make sure you're poor. Like it's just a cut dry kind of thing.
Well, that's what it is.
And it's just like,
that's all of what it is.
Yeah.
You're poor, stay poor, and shut up. Like that's the whole world seems to be. So
yeah, and I think it's because of like how they handled that. So I don't want to say cleanly, but it's like it's a cut dry kind of situation. That's why I would love to have had someone like with just a time capsule, like one of the timekeepers have one like in their pocket because they all wear the same coat.
Well, he does say to her, "Where's our capsule?" And they seem to not have it. So I guess maybe they left it in the car or something.
Yeah, but I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. All the way to where they have the hotel room. Mm-hmm. And like the timekeepers run up on him and it's like, this is where I was going to stay.
Yeah.
like that. Like it's a very kind of clean thing because like we've already illustrated who this person is. We've ground their character in this universe, so we know that all of these decisions they're making isn't random chance. Like he is so experienced that he knows what this man is thinking before the man's going to think it.
But also, it does seem like Will is probably right, and he is from there.
Yeah.
Actually, he does kind of say, like, it was a long time ago. He's a little vague, but it's kind of certain that, like, yeah, he did grow up there. What was with the guy, though, that comes into the hotel just after they buy it all out, and she says, we're fully booked up, and he says, right. And then he kind of just goes away.
That's the guy who rats him out to the bad guys.
He does rat them out?
That's him.
Okay.
He's like, I just want a portion of the reward. And then we don't see him again. Because it's almost a cut between that and then them being in the room and the doors being broken in.
I mean, but also you totally know that he's going to jump out the window because he's like, we'll jump out the window. The timekeepers won't. And you're like, yeah, that one will for sure.
Yes.
Like we know enough about him by now. Like he's going to do it. Like the other ones probably won't because they're rookies, but he's going to do whatever it takes to he keeps time. He keeps saying it.
Yeah.
I keep time. So he's going to keep time, like no matter what.
He became his job. He's not a person anymore. He's
been doing
the job.
it 50 years.
Yeah.
Nobody's a cop for 50 years. They make you retire before you get to 50 years. So he is his job. Like that's what he does. He's put too much time into this to not.
Now, see, that's something else that kind of gets me is like, I'm not saying he's the oldest person in this world, but what was his name? The guy who fell, just timed himself out on the bridge, gave Will all the money.
Oh yeah, I don't remember his character names. I keep calling him Bowman because that's his real name, and I remember him from White Collar before this movie. But Matt Bowman, yeah. But
he no, like I think he said he's 105, something like that.
Yeah, he's 105 in real time. Yeah.
And so in real time, he's 105, and he kind of has this mental fatigue,
which I think is probably a real thing.
Well, yeah, I've heard scientists talk about like you don't want to actually be immortal in this situation because your brain will like deteriorate mentally, not so much physically. And so I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, I'm wondering how old a lot of these other rich people are.
I feel like probably not as old. But also maybe they're just psychotic. I mean, the thing about like if you're mega rich, there's something different about your brain than other people. Like in order to like get there in the first place, because you have to be kind of like diabolical and ruthless and like who cares about other people in order to have like a super ton of money. Like even if you eventually become Bill Gates and then like you give a bunch of it to like AIDS in Africa or something. Like he's
not actually giving it to AIDS in Africa. He's giving it to organizations to help fight AIDS in Africa. He's not that evil.
Like, you know, Jeff Bezos sits around and like pays people $10 an hour to work in his warehouses for like 15 hours a day while he's like the richest man. Like there's something different about you than other people. And not just the happenstance of it. Like there are other people like that don't have that much money. Those are the people that buy lottery tickets, like in a commonplace way, in like a compulsive way. Like, I have to have this much money so I can do whatever I want. Like, screw the rules, I have money kind of people. And I have the In America, but I don't have that one, so I can't play it. But,
and screw Halswell.
Screw Halswell. I have that one. I can pull that one in a second while I talk. But there is, there's something different. And so, like, maybe there is something different about Weiss than there is about whatever Matt Bowman's character's name is, where he just is a like, because we know there is, because he won't give the 1,000 years to get his daughter back. So there's something different.
I wasn't sure if that was his fault or if he was told not to do it by the police.
Well, yeah, sure. But like,
because like you see him
Charles
sitting there and
Lindbergh
he's
was told not to
it.
pay the ransom by the police, and Sinatra was told not to pay the ransom by the police. They still did it because it's your kid. So you do irrational things no matter what people tell you. But he seems not to care that much. Yeah. Like he's a helicopter dad, he's super protective, but it seems more like maybe he's worried about people getting access to the time than he is about the actual like his kid or his wife. Because that is what happens. Which I like that, where he's like, one too many guards because there are so many guards standing around that nobody can tell who's who, and so they just sneak in. Although it does seem like there was a certain amount of bribery involved because he says like it cost us centuries to bribe our way in here, and maybe it's worth it, and they open the vault and it's 1,000,000 years. His first 1,000,000.
Wait, a century's only like 100.
A century's 100 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Screw holes, Will.
Yeah, fuck him right in the ass.
Screw Mr. Zeckley and screw the sow.
Okay.
As a companion. That's from Swing Vote, which is the at the same time most political and most carefully non-political tightrope episode that we've ever done. Go and check that one out. I think it's like 109 or something. Like we were so careful to be as neutral as possible, but be involved in politics at the same time. It was a tightrope. But I guess there's not like for some people there's. I do wonder if we set Michael Bloomberg down to watch in time, what would he come out of it thinking? Like, would he just like be like
that no one was drinking soda and that he doesn't understand the conversion rate between real money and 3 minutes for coffee?
I guess so, but I mean, there's a certain amount of keeping the poor down, I guess, that maybe he would agree with, but he would probably be on the other side because you're supposed to be on the like, yeah, this is wrong. That all these like, there's plenty of time for everyone. There's plenty of money for everyone. But it's, segmented off, lots of, a few people have a lot of money. Lots of people have very little money. It's a very like sort of messagey, you see Timmy, don't eat paint kind of message science fiction. And
what if you just walked across the barrier?
Well, I do wonder about I don't own
a car.
Well, that's the thing.
I'll just walk right across it.
In order to drive through the barriers, you have to have a car, which seems to be not common for poor people because cars seem to be expensive. Which, like, that car is like, what is it, like 60 years or something? It's a lot. It's really expensive compared to I think you're right. Like, Bloomberg would be confused about the conversion rate, but so am I. Like, I don't really understand exactly the difference in value between various things. It's not important.
They also don't show us him actually getting paid a specific value. I paid attention to that.
They like when he's working at the factory. No, because the only time we see him get paid, it's not as much as he's supposed to.
Yeah.
Because he didn't make quota because the quotas go up.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing is I wanted to see what that arm was going to change to. So I could try to like figure out some numbers based off of how many hours I expected him to work that day.
Yeah.
And then try to figure out an actual conversion rate to figure out something similar to what we have, just to have an idea.
I mean, the closest
I didn't see anything.
The closest we get is the mom, because the mom says, I have 2 days work in the garment district, which then she pays 2 days to the loan company. But was she gone for 2 days? So, like, did she work for 2 days in order to earn 2 days, and then she has, like, 30 minutes left that she had before? Or, I guess, 2 hours or whatever. It doesn't seem like. It seems like she's gone overnight, I guess.
Yeah.
And we don't know what kind of work she does. We know he makes work, like, he makes the time capsule things. We don't know what she does. She does something in the garment district, which is apparently a thing. And we don't know where they are. They have made up names, but they're very clearly in Los Angeles because we see the LA River like very prominently several times. Now you did mention, just to wrap up, like another thing, that like the way things look. If you're talking about it in like a cinematography context, it's Roger Deakins is the DP for this. So like you would expect it to be, maybe not necessarily showy, because good cinematography is not necessarily showy, but you would expect it to be like just what it needs to be, in order to serve the story. And I think it is. It is kind of a surprisingly small movie for this period of time to be Roger Deakins, because he could be off making, a Batman movie or something. But it is, and because there isn't any opportunity to be flashy. There's no like, let's fly like straight looking down over, Mexican cities and things. There's There's nothing really flashy about it. It's just what it needs. Now, this is not Roger Deakins' fault because this is not cinematography, but the only other thing, like the effects version of the acting of him crying over his mom is
the car wreck.
The car wreck. The car wreck is like
so bad.
It's not so bad.
It's so bad because it stands out really, really hard.
Well, it's basically the only like effect in the movie. It's the only like, oh look at, we're watching an effect in the movie. So like it. Of course, there's effects all over the movie because every time somebody has a watch on their arm, like that's an effect. But it's the only.
We could not afford to actually roll a real car of this model
of that kind. No, it's not real. But it's not that it looks like plastic or something. It really doesn't. It's the physics. The physics look weird.
Yeah,
like the weight of it looks weird. The speed that it flips looks weird, and so that's disappointing. But and it's disappointing because it's the only thing in the movie that is like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Nani? And it, even on like a small TV, it doesn't look as good as it should. And it's not the fire in the like first season of Lost off in the distance that Sawyer looks at, like bad effect. Like it's not that bad, but it's not great. But so mostly, even though we're picking around in order to talk about things, it's good.
Yeah, I look forward to going. I look forward to going and watching Sonic, and that was one of the things I was thinking of is whenever he's running. I know, like humans are the only species who seem to run for fun, but at the same time, running is good exercise.
For fun?
Yeah, and so
what the hell kind of fun is that? It's better than I think he took his wallet.
Okay, so it does look a little weird because he's not wearing jogging clothes or anything like that. But then it's just like, I don't see people run around here. Like, even the traffic in that area is surprisingly low.
Oh yeah, they're going like 5 miles an hour. They're not in any hurry.
Bruh.
Because they don't have to be.
Where would you like to display your hot rod, sir?
Yeah.
Display it? Pisha, you peasant. I plan to drive this vehicle.
You don't drive a fast car. That's dangerous. You might die. Like that. Like that's what's happening. Like, nobody does anything.
I'm going to buy a bicycle and then strap a whole bunch of Roman candles to it and light all of them. And so they just spin and shoot stuff all over the place.
You might die
by catching on fire.
Yes.
The cop knows Will's dead.
Yeah, that's something
that didn't really go.
It doesn't go anywhere. We don't know what happened with this. I guess his dad was kind of revolutionary or something, and he got killed. Your dad was
killed because he was a criminal, but not a criminal. But he was a criminal.
He's a time crime.
Who killed him? Like that's the thing. Is like
I think the timekeepers killed him.
Probably
that seems to be what happened.
Like we don't even get that as a resolution.
They keep time.
That CGI crash. That is
CGI crash.
That is specifically a note. 1,000 years and giving time away. Blah blah blah. It took an hour to get to real plot advancement.
I don't think so. Well, maybe plot. But
we're
doing a lot of world building. We're doing a lot of character building. And it's only 107 minutes long or something anyway. So like I was okay with just like sitting here and like watching people exchange time and seeing billboards and the cost of things and kind of getting a feel for like how things are. I didn't mind the lack of plot progression. Although it does progress pretty fast once it happens.
Yeah, I'd say that's the reason I have the note is because I do like good plot because good plot is good story. But at the same time, like watching it develop so incredibly slowly that it takes an hour to actually get to whenever the plot's going to move forward. Like that was like the I think it was actually 57 minutes specifically. I think.
It seems right.
Yeah, I think it was 57 minutes specifically because there was a line of dialogue, and when I heard that, I'm like, now we're going somewhere. And then I looked at the time, and it was 57 minutes. And I'm not hating on it by any means, no. But it's just like the movie speeds up exponentially at this point because now it is we gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast.
Must go faster. Must go faster.
Oh yeah, they make a comment about ruining the economy, but then they immediately cut to like the bad guy of the movie, like the actual criminal boss. And I'm like, what? Because like they try to illustrate the point of the rich people and how they don't want to give up money, because if people have money, then they can't have money. That doesn't make any sense to me. You know, maybe someone who's better at economics could explain how that's actually supposed to work, whatever. But
I don't want to die, because if we die, we can't make money.
Yeah. I think I even said that to myself when I watched this movie. I'm pretty sure I did.
Well, that's the whole thing, because if you look at the history of it, and yes, it is February, but that's not the history we're looking at. Most of the reason to avoid war is because in war, like, you know, London gets bombed and it just gets bombed. So like poor people get bombed, rich people get bombed, and like it's bad for rich people. You know, war is good for the economy, but it's bad for rich people because it's dangerous. And like, you know, maybe like people revolution and like take your rich people stuff like the poor people do. So like you don't want to upset things as the rich people. You want things to stay how they are so you can stay rich. And so like anything that's a difference, even if it might not be that much of a difference, it might be. And that's frightening. And you don't want that. And so we got to stop it. And so like, even if they're not that justified in stopping what's happening, they're kind of justified in stopping what's happening as rich people, because they just don't want anything to change, but they're still not justified.
Oh yeah, but the economy thing and the criminal, and he makes a comment about why the timekeepers leave him alone is because he takes time from his own people.
Yeah, not that much, because there's not that much to take.
Yeah, why hasn't someone already shot this guy? I think that's kind of
cost money. I don't know.
I think that's kind of my big thing. Like the dude could have just shot the dude. Like, yeah, I had enough time left over to buy this. Do not. Ladies and gentlemen, if you own a firearm and if you decide that you want to withdraw your firearm from wherever you have it stored, whether it be a holster or in your pants, please don't put them in your pants. Get a holster for it. And you wish to pull it out. You need to use it. Like right there. I'm not saying going around and shoot people. I'm saying if you must pull your firearm out, it needs to be because you are planning and are going to execute using it for preferably a self-defense reason. And
yeah,
now, granted,
there's a sword taste blood kind of thing here.
Yeah, and so it's just like this guy pulls out a pistol as a threat to this guy who he knows is a threat, but then chooses not to remove the threat and then is killed because of it. Do not put yourself in a situation where this can happen to you. Be safe.
So how do we feel about stars?
I'm giving it 4. Like, it's a good, strong 4. And it's been 4 for a while. Like, I haven't had any, like, oh, you know, it's been a while and I didn't enjoy it as much. Like, no. It's a good, hard 4.
Hard. I'm going to say it. It's tough. I don't say it a lot, but it's tough. It's often tough. You know, we call it the hard choices model, and it's tough. I really like it. Like, I really like it as a thing. I like the like science fiction-y doing its jobness of it. I like the world that it builds. I have questions still, but I don't know if that's necessarily good enough reason to knock it off. The crying isn't great. Oh, I did. The opposite of the crying is Matt Bowman's drunk acting, because it's almost all in his eyes. Like when the Minutemen show up in the bar to kill him and take his time, and he's like, I'm gonna need a minute, I guess. Like that's not what he says. Like you just kind of see, he kind of stands there and is like swaying ever so slightly, and you just see like his eyes kind of like focus and unfocus and like just twitch just a little. It's really good drunk acting, and drunk acting is so hard because it's so easy to be like a caricature of drunk. It's like, it's really easy to be like Bill Cosby drunk acting. Like it's in order to like doing it believably is really tough. And like that, it's really good. And it's especially good in contrast to the crying because your mom died. And also this and The Social Network are the two things where I thought like where both of them I was like, Justin Timberlake, am I going to believe that he's going to be a good actor? And then turns out, yes.
Dick in a box.
Like, these are the two movies that I was like, yes.
The golden rule. Mother lover.
But
he can do both.
I suppose so. But the I don't know. I like Darwinian capitalism as a phrase, even though I don't think there's that much of a difference between regular capitalism and Darwinian capitalism, except that I think it's a misunderstanding of evolutionary terms. Which, if you want to know what I think about misuse of evolutionary terms, go way back to the beginning and listen to the evolution episode. Also, if you want to hear us like fight angrily in an unenjoyable way, go and listen to the evolution episode, which
I wasn't on that
is
one.
a long way of saying probably don't listen to the evolution episode, because it was the least fun that I've ever. I can't listen to it.
You were angry at Dan Aykroyd for even being in the movie.
I was angry at Dan Aykroyd for being in a movie. Now, I was angry at Dan Aykroyd for being in the Ghostbusters reboot also, but much less angry than I was for him being in Evolution. I hate Evolution. I hate it so much.
I want to stay more with Kenny on this. I enjoyed it. Stupid shampoo.
But
so dumb.
That's an example of not science fiction that I enjoy. And also not really science fiction because it doesn't teach you anything. But it's hard to say because, like, sure, it's really heavy-handed. It's like, time is money. Think about it. But, like, you probably should think about it because it seems like people don't think about it. And, I mean, I guess maybe some people think about it, but not most people don't think about it. And, this is pretty early in the, like, the 1%er, like, Occupy Wall Street kind of period of time. And it's saying those kinds of things. And so it's sort of out at the front end of that. Now, the other thing is, I said at the beginning of the episode already that this is in the fishbowl. And so, can I say this is in the fishbowl, but it's not 5 stars? Because I think that's a precedent, isn't it? Has that happened before?
I don't know. Like, I've actually been putting some thought into, like, movies that would make, like, the top 100 and understanding why they're worthy of being in a person's top 100, and then trying to understand whether or not that actually constitutes being worth 5 stars.
Well, if we're saying, which we have said for basically the whole life of the show, that it's not really a, like, objective quality thing, that it's kind of a, like, this is what I got out of it kind of thing, then, like, obviously in, like, an objective kind of way, I can't make the argument that Pluto Nash is a 5-star movie in, like, a thumbs up Ebert and Siskel kind of way. But it is, to me, kind of like there's nothing about it that bothers. Like, I think everything about it is just what it should be, and I enjoy it every time I watch. So, like, that.
Well, like,
I don't know.
The fishbowl is essentially each person's individual top 100 that we've randomized in such a way to create a show.
But are they all 5 stars?
But that's one of the and the reason why I'm thinking about this is because one of the movies that I put down is called Safe. And it's a Jason Statham movie that I absolutely love watching.
I haven't seen it.
But I also don't like lots of it. And so, yeah, I know.
Well, so that's a really,
and so it's like
in the fishbowl. I don't like lots of it,
but then it's just like, okay, so
but there's parts that I like.
There's stuff about it that I like so much that I felt that it was worthy of being on the list, but it wasn't the top of the list. Like, it was one of those where I'm like, I'm filling out the last of it. What are movies that I like more than other movies? And then like putting those down. And so I would have to say, if, at a current standpoint, I would give Safe maybe a light 4, because I know it's not a 5-star movie for me, but I still enjoy it. It's like I kind of feel like I ran out of 5-star movies, and then I had to start digging into like the 4-star movies. Mostly I did that because there are a lot of 5-star movies that are almost like
the same as other ones on the list.
Yeah, already. And it's just like, oh, are we going to include like 12 Studio Ghibli movies?
Maybe.
And I'm like,
they're different.
I'll put in 4 Studio Ghibli movies that I think are the best to represent this. You know, it's stuff like that.
Inserting headline news. Miyazaki currently at work on animating a new Studio Ghibli movie despite his retirement.
Because the man will not retire.
He's animating it like what did they say, like a minute a month or something?
Yeah, it's like he has become his work. He is the anime keeper.
Yes. Not yes, well. Yes. So with all of that struggling and quantifying and rule making, and I return again to the beginning of the segment. It's tough. So although I guess it isn't, because when something, Infinity War and Endgame, both individually and collectively, are 5s. Like, it's just like, the top of my head is blowing off. They're like, I can't contain how great I think they are. So, like, they're obviously 5 stars. Apollo 13 is obviously 5 stars. Like, these are things, Network is like, that there's no question that they're 5 stars. So maybe that's what it is. If I have to think about it,
does it really deserve it?
I guess. So, like, it's just, so I guess I will come down to that and agree with you and say, like, it's a really strong 4, but it's a 4 because I suppose there are things, but I really like it. And maybe it might be right at the edge. I think maybe it is right at the edge, but it's just not, it's not quite a boom cannon, but it's right there. It's a bang cannon.
Well, I think something else that you may want to take into consideration is if at any point in time, got him. You find yourself thinking about this movie in a positive way, or you recall that, hey, maybe I want to watch this again with something.
You should.
Then I think that is definitely deserving of something towards 5 stars. So.
Well, I don't only rewatch things that are 5 stars.
Oh yeah, I watch movies that are like 1 or 2 stars. I gotta keep that poison flowing through my bones.
Well, but you don't. I have yet to rewatch Interstellar. It's on the shelf.
I won't.
It's on the shelf. It's on the Nolan shelf. I have the like magnetic fold outy, not the like everything is silent in space. It's not like well, that's Gravity anyway.
Like, I was willing to cut myself in half just to have that 2 and 4 star rating. I'm still angry about that movie.
I have yet to rewatch it. It's been a long time.
I will not. I won't do it. I will not do it. I will not do it.
Ecstasy.
We didn't finish that.
We didn't. Someday we have to, I guess. Maybe that's one of the live shows is Ecstasy.
No.
Okay.
We will need some Ecstasy to sit down and watch.
I will not take Ecstasy and watch the movie Ecstasy.
Then we will not watch that movie.
Okay.
Horrible.
Not 5 stars. So there you go, Jousha Bandy. It is what we think about in time. Probably not everything we think about in time, but in any case, that's all we have to say about it in time.
Well, right before we sign off, I'd like to lead with a quote that I got from Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle. Poor is a mental state What you are is broke.
I don't know if I agree with that. I see the comedy in it, I suppose. We'll see you next time.
Later. It's like we're not actually doing work. We're using money and investing more money to make more money to invest in to make more money and repeat this infinitely.
Did you just take his wallet? He just took that guy's wallet.
Science has proved that this is so.